Welcome back to Winners and Losers, the show that looks at the highs and the lows around world football. This weekend, I'm back in action on a Monday morning where Manchester United have lost. The conspiracy ends here, although I currently do have COVID. So just about on the show, just about here. I've pulled myself out of bed to talk about Manchester United being utterly dismal. Look who's joined me though, Zachary Jalab. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. I had a good weekend. I'm absolutely flying with the running at the moment. Really good fun. But yeah, probably a slightly better weekend than yourself, bless you. But one thing that did go out this weekend was our version of The Chase. I mean, if you've not seen it yet, here's a little sneak peek.
I'll give him 50k.
50,000.
Talk to the team here and talk to the team.
That is a lot of imaginary money.
Mate, 50 G's. Come on.
Think all the things we could do. 50K.
I know, man. Not much, but...
I'm going to go...
To be clear, you won't be able to do any of those things.
Yeah.
No, I signed something to get in. 50 grand.
Let's go!
£50,000.
Come on, crowd.
So if you haven't watched that already, make sure you go and watch it right after this, because we are about to be talking about Manchester City versus Liverpool. What a stunning game it was, Zachary. In the classic vintage words of every pundit in world football, a great advert for the Premier League. A 2-2 draw, of course, to maintain Manchester City's 1 point advantage at the top of the table. Do you know what? I saw a stat coming into this game I just couldn't believe. Over the last 4 seasons, Manchester City have taken 339 points. God. Liverpool have taken 338. That is how close it is between these two sides. Utterly ridiculous. And I thought it was pretty close on the day, although I have to say, I tweeted after the game, I felt like Manchester City will come away from that slightly disappointed not to win it. I think they had the better opportunities. XG was very close at 1.35 to 1.30. But overall, in terms of the flow of the game, it felt like, from where I was watching anyway, City were the better side. Especially in the first half, I thought that Liverpool started really poorly. I think the line was slightly too high and Trent's body shape wasn't correct. Also, felt like Fabinho had a rare off day. I never see him have off days, but it felt like Manchester City were onto him. In the second half, I think, Klopp, what he said at half-time clearly had an effect. They came out very, very well, but it was a tale of City missed chances, wasn't it? That Sterling miss early doors, the Rodri head across goal where he really had to find, I think it was John Stones coming in. Mahrez at the end of the game, what is he doing? Going for the dink in that situation. For me, it felt like City created enough chances to win the game. It was an awesome spectacle, and it looks like KDB agrees.
Obviously, the way the second half started, that's the disappointment. We know in a couple of chances that Liverpool can score, but I think, like I said, I think we played great. We created enough chances, I think, today to win the game, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, KDB as well there was pretty much the best player on the pitch last night. He was fantastic. And this stat just shows how much of a nuisance he is against Liverpool. He has 8 Premier League goal involvements in 8 games against Liverpool. And he's also got 6 goals in his last 6 games for Man City this season. He's been immense over the past couple of weeks and just shows how great of a player he is. Now, City fans were not happy with the refereeing decisions on the day. Sterling's disallowed goal, which was offside. I don't really think there's much to moan about there. But also some possible red cards where I do think they've got a bit more of an argument. Thiago and Fabinho. Joe, do you think they should have been sent off?
I think Thiago in particular was a really lucky chap to stay on the pitch. He could have been yellow carded 3 times, I think. So for me, Thiago should have been sent off. I think the Fabinho one, I mean, look, it's super cynical, isn't it? It is super cynical, but at the elite level, those sort of cynical fouls happen. It was just the manner of which his studs caught. I think it was Bernardo Silva going through in that situation. So I think Thiago, very lucky not to be sent off. Fabinho, I think yellow card was fine.
Yeah, indeed. I actually think Thiago did a couple of tackles before in the first half as well, which didn't get him a yellow card in the first place. That did feel a bit rough. But look, overall, it was a draw, which means in terms of the title race, it was a bit of a redundant match. But I'm going to go through which teams are playing which throughout this season. Maybe we'll have a guess at who can go on to win the title. Now, Liverpool's next game is Manchester United. They then also have the derby against Everton. They then face Newcastle, Spurs, Aston Villa, Southampton and Wolves. They end the season against Wolves. Whereas Man City have to face Brighton, Watford, Leeds, Newcastle, Wolves. That Wolves game hasn't yet been decided in what order it comes in. West Ham and Aston Villa. I mean, in terms of the games that they're going up against, it feels like it's in Man City's favour, right, Joe?
Yeah, I think although those were the Premier League fixtures you read out, and let's not forget that Atletico Madrid
Very
game
true.
on Wednesday is a monster, isn't it? That's not going to be an easy game, and then they've also got to face each other again in the Cup, haven't they? Mm-hmm. So this is a huge, 3 or 4 days for Manchester City in the build-up to that Atletico game. I really feel like if they can get Atletico out of the way fairly comfortably, if it doesn't require, extra time or some gritty battling effort where people get injured, then they're going to be okay across the rest of the season. Liverpool's fixture list on paper looks tougher, but, Man United are one of the worst teams in the league right now. Everton are one of the worst teams in the league right now. And on paper, you would say, yes, these are tough games, classically a Merseyside derby, and a Manchester United, grudge rival. But they're actually crap. I think the tougher games are the likes of going to or having to play Tottenham at home. Yeah. I think that's a difficult game. And on the flip side for Manchester City, going away to West Ham, I know they have an awesome record at the London Stadium, but that's not going to be easy. So although Liverpool on paper have the tougher run in, I just don't think there's anything to separate these sides. I actually see them winning every game in the Premier League from now to the end of the season. Manchester City winning by 1 point.
Oh, that would be a tight race. I mean, there are a few kind of banana peel games in there. They've both got to play Wolves.
Banana peel, love it.
That is the saying, right? But yeah, they've both got to play Wolves. They've both got to play Aston Villa as well. There is a scenario where Steven Gerrard's men end up beating Man City on the last day of the season to win Liverpool the title. But we'll get to that in due course. But let us know who you guys think is going to win the Premier League title down below.
Let's go to the other end of the table then to find our winners. It's Everton, where Manchester United are fully in the mud. Jalab, we going with that one?
Well, as the script says here, Everton beat a embarrassing Man United side 1-0 to lift themselves 4 points clear of the relegation zone. I'll let you guess who wrote this section. Now, Anthony Gordon scored the only goal in the game, which came from a huge deflection off of Harry Maguire. But in truth, they deserved the result. They limited Man United to only 0.9 on XG. Now, Everton had actually lost 6 of their last 7 games coming into this game, and were also coming into it after a horrible result against Burnley, where they lost 3-2, which could have brought them straight back into the relegation battle if it weren't for this result. Now, there are some positives coming out of this. Frank Lampard has now won more games at home at Goodison Park in 2 months in charge of Everton than Rafa Benitez did in his 6 months in charge of the Toffees, which is quite frankly ridiculous. Lampard has now won 5 games out of 7 at Goodison Park as well since he's been manager, which has a great form for them to stay up from the relegation battle. And the result was made even sweeter after Burnley lost 2-0 to Norwich and Watford got hammered 3-0 at home to Leeds. But Joe, as we've said at the beginning of the show, you're normally not here when United lose. Take it away.
Yeah, well, I'm here this week, and I was here this week to watch Manchester United put in yet another disgraceful performance, as David De Gea called it, shameful to a man in terms of outfield players, weren't they? I think Everton ran 10 kilometres further as a unit than United, which is just disgusting. Really is. The interim management experiment has totally failed. It's been a catastrophe. I think it's 3 wins in their last 12 games. I think it's 9 of 22 under Rangnick at this stage. Hopefully when he goes into the boardroom he fares an awful lot better than he has done as a coach, but then it's hard to see what coach comes in, even if it is Erik ten Hag, and has a huge impact on a group of players that seem pretty petulant, seem like they don't really care, seem like they can't be bothered. I'm not overly convinced that any manager in world football can come in to Manchester United, which is a totally toxic environment, and have a huge impact. It's rotten from top to bottom, Jalab, and I'm quite frankly bored of talking about them. It's made even worse by the fact that, Arsenal dropped points. Tottenham managed to get an elite manager in around the same time as Manchester United, managed to sign players well in January in Kulusevski and Bentancur, and are now reaping the rewards. One club moving one direction, Manchester United moving in a totally different one. Very frustrating and, quite frankly, depressing.
Saying this gives me a lot of pleasure this week, as our losers are Arsenal Football Club, as their top 4 hopes were weakened this weekend after losing 2-1 to Brighton at the Emirates Stadium. Now, coming into this game, Brighton had failed to win a game in their last 7 attempts before this. However, they did manage to get the result and 3 points, with fine finishes coming from Trossard and Mbeumo. Mbeumo's, by the way, is an absolutely delightful finish. Oh, ridiculous.
So good.
Ridiculous. To be honest, Brighton could have been the winners as well this weekend. Now, this result means that the Gunners are 3 points off of Spurs on 54, but do have a game in hand. However, that is against Chelsea, which is not this Wednesday coming, the Wednesday afterwards, the 20th of April, for those that are wondering. Now, the tables had been turned in this game. Arsenal actually bettered Brighton on XG with 1.85 to the Seagulls 0.6. But finally, it turned in Brighton's favour. With injuries coming to Tierney and Partey, it meant Xhaka was forced to play left back. It also meant Lokonga was put in midfield, and it was his first start since January. I think we're really seeing an issue with Arsenal and their depth at the moment since these injuries have taken place. But the most damning stat of all this weekend is that Spurs have now scored more Premier League goals under Antonio Conte, who was appointed in November, than Arsenal under Arteta have this season. I think that's really, really poor.
Yeah, and it just comes down to some really poor decision making in January. I think it was definitely the correct decision to sell Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, get him off the books. I'm not having this whataboutism of since he's gone to Barcelona, he's got 10 in 14. I saw lots of Arsenal fans saying we should have kept him. No, the right decision was to get rid of Aubameyang in that moment. The incorrect decision was not to find some sort of striker in the market, even if it had been a short-term fix, to support Mikel Arteta throughout the second half of the season. Like I said earlier, Spurs' January signings have given them a huge, huge boost. Kulusevski has been magnificent since he came in, and the lack of a goal-scoring striker at Arsenal is really starting to hurt them. You know, Lacazette has the same amount of goals this season as Aubameyang, and Aubameyang left in January. I think he's got 2 non-penalty goals this season, Lacazette, which just isn't good enough. You know, Saka, Smith Rowe, Ødegaard are the only players to have scored more than 5 goals. No Arsenal player in double digits in the Premier League. That is a real problem when you're battling against maybe the deadliest duo in Premier League history in Son and Kane. You know, that's what it comes down to. And Arteta needed support in that January market. Okay, maybe he couldn't get his dream striker through the door. They wanted Vlahovic. It didn't happen. But you've got to feel like there was somebody on the market that might have added 2 or 3 goals to carry them over the line in these situations. And like you said, Jalab, that depth, particularly in the striking area, is just really coming back to bite them now, isn't it? Especially as the fixture list kind of doesn't read in Arsenal's favour on paper again. They've still got to play Chelsea, United, West Ham. They've got to go away to Tottenham Hotspur. So that is pretty tough. Man United will be a tap-in, but, you know, Chelsea at the Bridge is not going to be easy. Spurs away, because it's Antonio Conte as well, is going to be a really difficult game. Conte's going to muddy that up, and Kane always scores in North London derbies. So for me, it's firmly in the hands of Tottenham Hotspur, but it's Tottenham Hotspur. Let's not forget this. They do have a history of capitulation, and would anybody be surprised if they went Spursy? I certainly wouldn't. Either way, I think it's fair to say Mikel Arteta, after the game, was not happy.
We were sloppy, we were imprecise, we were with not the right approach and with the right courage to play the way we want to play, and the game was there and we were cold. We didn't transmit any energy, we didn't transmit any willingness to dominate the game the way we wanted to do it, and the first situation they had, they scored a goal, and then the second half we have a reaction, especially in the last minutes. And it's great not to give up, but we have to do it in the first minutes.
All right, that's it for another episode of Winners and Losers. Like Zachary said at the top of the show, if you haven't already, make sure you go and watch The Chase. It's an absolute epic. Anything else you want to plug, Jalab?
Nope, just The Chase. Go over there, watch it, and let us know what other kind of quiz shows you want us to do. The Weakest Link, Hole in the wall. I mean, if you've got a
Pointless.
budget of about 10 grand, we'll do hole in the wall. So anyone want to spend that money, let me know.
What the hell is hole in the wall? Hole in the wall is
You've
when
never
they
seen
jump
Hole in the
through
Wall?
things, mate. Aren't you thinking a £1 million drop?
No, have you never seen Hole in the Wall? Oh my God, Joe, you'd love Hole in the Wall.
Do they ask a question and they have to get into
Yeah.
the shape of a phone thing? And for God's
Imagine that
sake.
Alan Shearer celebration.
Yeah,
Oh,
that would
it'd
be great. I mean,
It'd
if
be
we
great.
pull that one off, it's one for the ages. If you did enjoy
Exactly.
this, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.